It now shows me the go live option. All right. Looks like I'm live on my end. Yep. Live on my end. Yep.
A massive weekend, and I know we've been talking a little bit about it throughout the week, but of course this is a lot, man. This is a lot, and I before we even talk about the shows, I need to know, like, what are you even interested in watching this weekend? What has your attention this weekend?
So what has my attention this week, bro? I'll be 100% honest with you. The big thing is All In, and I'm really locked in on that, especially after there was a certain segment last night that I can imagine we'll get into, but I'm very locked into All In. Also, on top of that, obviously very excited for Evolution. I think Evolution is... We're going to get a lot of huge talking points coming out of Evolution, and I think we're going to see a lot of cool, exciting things coming out of there. So it's going to be interesting. This weekend is kind of like you said a moment ago, very exciting, something that we can all kind of get behind and look forward to. A lot of pro wrestling this weekend, so everybody, the big thing here is just make sure that you love what you're watching. It's that simple. Enjoy what you enjoy. Enjoy your pro wrestling. It doesn't matter who you're watching. It doesn't matter the company you're watching. Just enjoy pro wrestling for what it is.
Yeah, man, it's so crazy too, because I feel like we're kind of in a tricky situation where we're gonna have to pick and choose what we want to watch. Obviously, you can't watch everything all at once.
For sure.
You know, one of the things that I keep making the argument, which I feel like the wrestling community has been super combative with this point, but one of the things I keep saying is that counter programming forces both companies to step up their game.
Absolutely.
I welcome it. I enjoy it. You know, I think there's a lot of people who really feel like WWE is stooping to a low level and trying to be, you know, problematic for AEW and whatnot. But I genuinely enjoy the fact that we are currently watching two companies come up and they're putting on these shows. Like, I think it's too much wrestling. I won't change my mind on that. I do think it's a lot, but I do think this is going to force every.
Yeah.
So petty, you know, and that's kind of the sad part. I think WWE's pettiness is literally forcing AEW to go and swing for a grand slam this weekend. And I think AEW having a show with 23,000 people in attendance is forcing WWE to swing as well. And obviously there's a lot of potential surprises that could happen. We'll see if those surprises happen, but overall I think my interest is actually less to do with overall cards, and this is kind of where I want to start with. It's less to do with the overall cards of these shows, but more specifically about the fact that there's certain matches or storylines I care about the most. So, for example, one thing that's like really interesting to me is to see how AEW plays off of Hangman and Moxley, right?
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of curiosity regarding Mercedes and Tony, because I had the prediction the other day of Athena walking out as champion.
Correct.
For NXT side of things, I'm really excited to see what happens with Inamura and Obafemi,
For sure.
which I think is going to be a very, very, very big sleeper match of the weekend. I think a lot of people don't realize. I think they're underestimating how good that match could actually be. So I'm really excited about that. Like, that's one of the things that's intriguing me. And then, of course, with Saturday night's main event, you know, believe it or not, I have a lot of excitement about this potential Jimmy Uso versus Solo Sikoa match. You know, like
Okay.
U.S. Championship. A lot of people are probably looking at it as like not a big deal, but they're trying to sell the story of MFT and the new faction there with Solo and Tala Tonga and Tama Tonga, and I'm intrigued by that. And of course, I'm not gonna lie, man, the Goldberg and Gunther thing, like I'm excited to see how they do that. And
Mm.
there's a lot of things that I'm interested in, but I'm not interested in every single card from start to finish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, man. I mean, that I kind of feel the exact same way. One of the big things for me this weekend is obviously Hangman Adam Page and our good friend John Moxley. I think last night after what we witnessed with Hangman and Swerve and that development there, I felt like what we seen last night was such a pivotal point. I actually made a TikTok about it and posted a little bit about it, kind of giving like my in-depth thoughts, talking about how last night what we seen on Collision was the one thing that John Moxley didn't want. What I seen last night felt like all three of the most important people to AEW and the company itself kind of coming together. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, they didn't actually like cut ties with or, mend things up. And while, yes, that's true, but you can see that they came to some kind of mutual agreement of like, hey, Hangman goes out and he says, hey, man, like my kids are here. They're going to be at the show, whatever. And Swerve just kind of being like, oh, it's they're fine. And then you had Swerve letting not Moxley, but Hangman know, like, hey, man, I was going to raise my kids in that house. I was going to raise my grandkids in that house. And at the end, you have Swerve picking up that chain. Obviously, that was used on Hangman so long ago. And you could just kind of see, like, without them saying it and without them actually making it known, he is going to help. He is going to help Hangman ultimately take back the company that all three of those gentlemen, Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, and Hangman, care about. So for me, that is one very important match. And another important match is obviously Gunther and Goldberg. There's a lot going into this match that people aren't necessarily looking at. There's the idea that Seth could walk in and cash in on the champion, whoever that be, whether it be Goldberg, whether it be Gunther, however they choose to do it. So that's going to be very important and something to keep a close eye on. Another thing, Evolution for me personally is a pretty big one. You have JC Jane and Jordan Grace for the NXT Women's Championship. I'm actually really looking forward to that because we talked about it, I believe, on Wednesday, talking about Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe and how eventually that will all play out. So there's a lot riding on this weekend, kind of like you said, Oba and Inamura. And when I did my watch along on Tuesday, I talked about how Josh Briggs came out there, and Josh Briggs really added some depth to a story that people were just going to throw to the wayside. And they were just going to be like, oh, well, Inamura's going to lose. Obviously, Oba's going to retain. But on Tuesday, we seen Josh Briggs, who came out and legitimized this storyline. And, he said, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that this guy walks out with the NXT championship. So that'll be interesting how they go about playing that. Like, there's a lot this weekend to look forward to, man. The contract signing for the TNA championship. That's another huge thing that's going on at the Great American Bash. Just a lot of fun stuff, and I hope everybody is going to enjoy this weekend as much as I am.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting for sure. And one thing that's one thing that's really cool too is I don't know if you saw TNA last night, but at Slammiversary, it's been confirmed it's going to be title for title, Masha Slamovich versus whoever's the NXT Women's Champion.
Beautiful,
and
beautiful.
So, it could be Jordan Grace, it could be JC Jane, and I like the fact that TNA and WWE's partnership has kind of led to something where, okay, there's a female who's going to carry both belts. And, listen, man, Trick Williams is holding the world championship, and he's probably going to drop it to Joe Hendry or Mike Santana at Slammiversary. Slammiversary now could be really exciting. What if you have Jordan Grace versus Masha Slamovich, which is great because, Jordan Grace was a TNA knockout, obviously.
For sure.
But what if Masha were to carry the NXT Women's Championship?
It would be interesting, man. It would be very interesting.
And then she carries both titles. So, like, that's one thing that's kind of making me excited. for this weekend, of course, I'm curious. Okay, what do they do with JC Jane? What do they do with Jordan Grace? Do they do something?
Evolute. Mm-hmm. For sure.
And which it's kind of what I've said about WrestleMania weekend, and now I'm going to say the same thing for this weekend. I think there's a lot of possibilities in which there's going to be things that happen this week that will make us want to tune in for next week. And I actually hope that's across the board, not just with NXT Great American Bash, not with just Evolution, Saturday night's main event, but also with All In as well.
Yeah.
And of course, when you have the the World Championship storyline, which has largely sucked for majority of the time, but now it's actually heated up between Moxley and Hangman. Like,
For sure.
this is a big thing about counter programming is you could have a big weekend and WWE and AEW could deliver hell of surprises, But if you're not coming through correctly with something that gets us excited for the following weeks, I think that's very difficult. One thing I kind of wanted to talk about, though, Billy, was today we had some news from PW Insider that came out.
Okay.
And Jelly Roll, we know he's going to be on SmackDown tonight, but the creative plans for Jelly Roll is something to do with Logan Paul for SummerSlam. And I've been covering the Jelly Roll situation, coming in. He's been apparently training for a WWE run.
Okay.
I never knew who he was until he showed up the first time, and
Really?
you and many others. Yeah, I never knew who he was, but the first time he showed up and he did the choke slam and stuff like that on Austin Theory, like, I didn't know who this guy was. Turns out he's a lifelong WWE fan. He's a very big fan of it. Like, this is something for him that it doesn't sound like it's a quick cash grab, which is why he's actually been training and taking it serious.
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect, but when you hear the news that in some capacity, Jelly Roll versus Logan Paul is happening at SummerSlam, what is your response to that?
Well, Jelly Roll and Logan Paul is obviously very interesting, and we don't necessarily know what to expect when it comes to Jelly Roll. We don't know to what level he's been training. We don't know what he's capable of even doing in the first place. I do know that he was on a very big weight loss journey, and that was something that he had been very much vocalizing on the internet. And obviously he just recently had a run-in with our good friend Dwayne Johnson, and they had like a really cool moment that I thought was awesome. But when it comes down to him and Logan Paul, I mean, it's just one of those things where we're going to have to wait and see, right? People can make all the speculations in the world. You can say whatever you want, and maybe, this isn't for you if you're, one of those super diehard wrestling fans that it's strictly wrestling, no celebrity should be involved, blah, blah, blah. I do think there's a level that both worlds can exist. And if it's just not for you, just don't choose to watch it. I think it's that simple. I personally am a big fan of Jelly Roll's music. I'm actually pretty big on him as a human as well. I think he's a really good person. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to seeing what he does in the long term here with Logan Paul and all that and how it's going to play out. People can make all the assumptions in the world. You can say whatever you want. I think it'll be cool.
It's interesting because I didn't know he was going through like a weight loss journey.
Yeah.
So that is intriguing to me. I would be very curious to see where his stage, like where he's at in that stage with it. But I've always been under the belief, man, if you're a celebrity and you're passionate about wrestling, join in.
Come on.
And it's so weird because I do feel like sometimes with social media, a lot of it stems from fans. It's like, oh, well, WWE does this and then AEW doesn't. But I think it's cool even when AEW does it. I think it's cool when WWE does it.
For sure.
My big thing, and it's like, I'm not even in the business like that, but my big thing has always been like, do they at least respect it? Do they respect the craft? Because I think we go back so often and look at like when WWE Vince McMahon had a new celebrity every week guest hosting
Yeah,
Raw,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and it's like some of these guys just don't give a shit. Like they're just there for cross promotion or for a paycheck, you
For
know.
sure.
And it's like you see people, you know, like Machine Gun Kelly. I'll never forget when he got power bombed by Kevin Owens. Like that was one of those things where it's like, oh my god, people don't like Machine Gun Kelly. He comes in, he takes the bump, but he grew up watching wrestling, so he respects wrestling.
Hmm.
You know, Logan Paul respects wrestling and took it serious. Bad Bunny, same thing. You know, Stephen Amell is another guy who came in and like actually respected
Started his
wrestling.
own show about it.
Yeah, so like there's like I'm okay with celebrity involvement. I think it's so funny. Like even with Shaq, right? We saw Shaq at WrestleMania one time.
He was in
You know, at one
AEW.
point, also in AEW, exactly.
Yeah.
So like I have no problem with it because they respect it. They like it. It's not just a quick paycheck. I didn't know who Jelly Roll was the first time he ever showed up, and I remember being like, okay, why are people going crazy for this guy? Then it turns out he makes music and he does all this cool stuff. Awesome. And it turns out this guy's a huge fan. So like, yeah, it probably makes sense. Jelly Roll and Logan Paul at SummerSlam in some capacity. The rumor is that it's going to be a tag team match, which should be.
Yeah, for sure.
Right
for
now,
sure.
who do you have? Who do you have with Logan Paul, and then who do you have with Jelly Roll? I think we have to find out.
Yeah.
But
You know,
it's
the only big problem with this is that the tribalists and the people on the internet, whoever that may be, they're just going to you know, obviously way back when Kenny Omega had said something about like Mr. Beast and Logan Paul main eventing WrestleMania years down the line, and it just kind of plays into that narrative that people are going to hate it regardless. You know what I mean?
that was irresponsible by Kenny Omega, though.
Yeah, it was
Irresponsible because AEW does celebrity involvement
all
too.
the time, quite often.
Yeah, I think that was kind of irresponsible from Kenny. I wouldn't necessarily expect Mr. Beast to wrestle, but you never know. Definitely something to pay attention to for sure. Obviously, that's going to kick things off tonight with SmackDown. And SmackDown, you know, it's back to 2 hours, so we'll see how it goes. It kind of sets the tone. Tonight, there's also the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, which I'll be honest with you, there's always a chance I could tune into Ring of Honor.
Mhm.
But as far as Ring of Honor goes, I'm just not as interested in the product. So it's hard for me. Like there's already so much wrestling going on, so it's hard for them to ask me to watch Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
I might tune in a little bit, try to catch a glimpse of it, that kind of thing. But obviously SmackDown will kind of set the tone, and we'll see what they do to get us excited.
Yeah, man.
At that point, it's very likely. Evolution just the other day was at literally like 3,800 tickets.
Yeah.
Now they're at 6,300 tickets. There's only 300 tickets left. They're opening that up for sure for more tickets, which is cool. Great WWE Great American Bash for NXT. They're at Center Stage, which is obviously a smaller venue, but
Yep.
they are set up for 772. They're gonna sell that out. There's
Easily.
no question about that.
Yeah.
They might even have to open up more seats, but I don't know how that works with Center Stage. I feel like the whole thing has actually been open. But they're nearing a sellout for that. All In had 20,000. Now I think they're literally at like 23, 24,000. So the good thing is literally every single show this weekend is nearing a sellout, which means based on what they're trying to sell, they're going to do it.
Yes.
Which is such a huge win for the industry, honestly. It's a huge win for AEW, and it's a huge win for WWE because of the fact that for a while it just seemed like all of them were kind of struggling a little bit. All of them are now getting to the point where they're definitely going to sell out.
Yeah.
So I feel like now it's the responsibility of Tony Khan and Triple H and Shawn Michaels to really just deliver some good stuff, which leads me to a question.
Okay.
Based on the fact that there's counter programming and there's all this kind of stuff, What needs to happen this weekend for you to ultimately be happy as a fan?
So, okay, this is obviously, I kind of covered it in the beginning of the stream. The biggest thing for me is Hangman walking out as the champion. That for me will satisfy me no matter what company. I think we just ultimately have to get to the point that Hangman is going to walk out as the AEW World Champion. He takes it out of the briefcase. He has that moment. I don't need any casino gauntlet match kind of interference. I don't need anything like that. You know, you can get like Swerve, Osprey, you can get the Death Riders, you can get all of them involved. That is okay as long as Hangman walks out as that champion. I am satisfied. The next big thing that would satisfy me, and this one is just like personal. It's not like, oh, like this isn't like a mandatory thing that is ultimately going to make me happy. But if I see it, it'll be nice. And I'm no different than anybody else in the wrestling community. Would love to see AJ Lee at Evolution. That would be exciting to me, personally speaking. And then I think that's really all I need, because like Goldberg and Gunther, for example, like I don't need anything crazy out of that. If they want to just keep it Gunther wins, I'm cool. If you want to do Gunther Goldberg wins and Seth cashes in, I'm cool. Like there's no real wrong way to go about that match, and I would be pretty happy to see that. But other than that, man, like the weekend itself, the big thing for me is Hangman walking out as champion. And hopefully, in something that you kind of touched on Twitter, Athena walking out as the AEW Women's Champion.
Yeah,
I think that would be huge to kind of rid of that. What's the word that I'm looking for here? Rid the whole Mercedes Moné Tony Storm thing. There's just been a lot of controversy and a lot of drama behind that. And if they want to kind of wipe the slate clean, this is how you do it. You have Athena win the Casino Gauntlet match, and then you have her cash in.
So you said something that was interesting to me that I really want to point out. If AJ Lee returns at Evolution and that's how the weekend ends, because Evolution takes place on Sunday, then it 1000% dismantles and discredits everything AEW did this weekend. So I want to be very clear on this. Like, there is a disadvantage for All In being on Saturday and Evolution being on Sunday, because Sunday comes after. Whatever happens will be talked about the most. Now, the idea of AJ Lee returning, you know, it's a very fun thing to fantasy book and whatever it may be. But there had been rumors for a while that AJ Lee was going to actually come back to WWE at some point. And the rumor was that it was going to be at WrestleMania. Maybe WWE has AJ Lee show up. Maybe they don't. But if they do have AJ Lee show up, you know more people will be talking about that than whatever happens at All In. So
Absolutely.
The number one thing that actually needs to happen is All In truly delivers something that makes fans go home happy. It can't be Swerve turning on Hangman. It can't be Darby cashing in at the end. You have to have Hangman win the match. A good go home story. Everybody feels good about it. Everybody's happy about it. And then you'll see whatever WWE does is whatever WWE does. But if AEW doesn't deliver something good to make fans happy at the end of the night, I promise you more people will be talking about AJ Lee if she were to return. So you got to be very, very careful here. But that's why counter programming is good. It is literally forcing everybody to be better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree 100%. It's forcing everybody to be on their toes, and that's the most important thing here, is that everybody is on their toes, moving fluently. The shows are moving fluently. We're getting through them. I think AEW, for what may be one of the first time ever, has a pretty short card. It doesn't seem to be super stacked. I think it's like
that's going to change.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe because there was only 8 matches last I checked.
Yeah, it's going to change. We know this, bro. Come on.
There's no way they pull off 12 matches by tomorrow and just throw them out there. Well, they had Collision last night, and I don't think anything changed. Potentially. Well, that's my thing. I mean, if you go ahead and you put 2 matches on a pre-show, it is what it is. That's not really coming into the time itself. But if the actual main card starts at 3:00 and it only has the 8 matches on there, I'd be fine with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not sell out the entire stadium in a baseball field because of the fact that you got to have your stage, you got to have it opened it up to more, and they could open up a couple thousand seats and that's it. They cannot open it up entirely for 40,000. It's not going to work. Wherever you place the ring and seating, it doesn't work logistically. So with WWE and AEW, if they are only trying to sell 4,000 tickets and they sell 4,000 tickets, that is a sellout.
For sure.
You cannot look at the venue capacity because the venue capacity is not fair. Especially, and I know this very well because AEW has come to Detroit. When AEW first came to Detroit, they did like 7,000 or 9,000 tickets sold. I want to say it was around 7,000.
Mm-hmm.
But Little Caesars Arena could do more. They weren't trying to do more. They only opened it up for X amount. And this is because of production and logistics, right?
Yeah.
So when AEW came back the second time to Detroit, they didn't go to Little Caesars Arena. They went to a smaller venue, the Masonic Temple.
Yep.
I don't know what the ticket sales were for Masonic Temple, but it was obviously a lot less. That is troubling because you had to downsize because you cannot get back to that 7,000 that you had in Detroit originally. But all in, if you were trying to get 18,000 and you sold 18,000, you sold out your show. Now they open it up for 20,000. Okay, we're able to sell out 20,000. Then we open it up for 21,000. Okay, we're able to sell out for 21,000. Last I checked, they're at like 23,000. They're trying to get to 25,000. They're going to sell out. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. They don't need to sell 40,000.
No, they
don't need to.
They don't.
It's like when WWE does WrestleMania and people are like, "Oh, they did 50,000." They're not opening up every single seat for purchase. So you just have to remember that. And one thing too that people really got to remember here, AEW in Texas, it's only one and done. They're not going back here. They're going back to Wembley. So if you want to look at a true representation of how AEW is doing as a business, you got to look at it from that perspective. Next year, if they go back to Wembley and they try to sell 70,000 tickets, which they probably won't, but if they were to, and then they only sold 40,000, then you could panic. But that's not the case.
Nope.
And a perfect example of this too is I'm going to show some love to TNA. TNA UBS Arena for Slammiversary, they set a goal for 4,000 tickets. They didn't announce anything on the card, and people were like, "Oh my god, they only sold 1,000." And then as time kept going on, bro, they're literally about to close in on 4,000,
which is insane.
So there's TNA. A very good chance that TNA is going to say, "Hey, we're going to open up more seats." You know,
yeah.
UBS Arena probably could seat 19,000 for a basketball game. For a wrestling show, I don't know.
Right.
But if they went for 4,000 and they sell 4,000, that's a good success. And if they are able to maybe get to 5,000 or 6,000, which is possible, by the way. We still got time for Slammiversary.
Absolutely.
If they open up more seats and they sell out, we should be celebrating that.
Absolutely.
You know what we shouldn't be celebrating? When TNA goes to the Curtis Caldwell Center in Texas and they do like 3,000-4,000 and AEW can't do more than 2,000.
Man, that's the big thing here too, is like we have to look at the importance of all this. We can't just dwindle and just go off like, oh yeah, well, because of what this arena or stadium or whatever baseball field holds, we can't go off the actual number that you see for those sports events. That's one thing to remember here. You can't go based off of what they do, right? Because these are two different entities. You know, baseball is its own entity, football is its own entity, NBA, whatever. Wrestling is its own entity. So when you tell me, and when somebody comes up to me and says AEW is selling 23,000, we talked about it off camera. When AEW does 23,000, I go, oh wow, that's a lot of people for Globe Life Field. It's gonna look packed no matter what you think, because you have to think about stage design, you have to think about the production, you have to think about the way that they're going to move it. That is a lot of people, and no matter what way you spin it, turn it, however, dude, AEW is going to look really good, I think, at the end of all of this.
Yeah, it's listen, it's not a theater. You know what I mean?
Exactly. They're going to a stadium.
Yeah, I welcome more stadium shows. You know what AEW wants to avoid is the Australia issue, where they
Mm-hmm.
went very big and they realized they couldn't do it and they had to downsize.
Correct.
But here in America, they're going to Texas and they're doing a good job with it. You know, at the end of the day, that's what's important. And by the way, like, 5-star general, I saw your comment. You said, Ango, you have a good point. I get what you're saying. Um, I'm not saying it like to put you down, but I want to kind of explain it because I think a lot of wrestling fans are like, oh my God, especially in the IWC.
Mm-hmm.
They love sending pictures of what the arena looks like before the show starts. And they're like, oh my God, they didn't sell out. Bro, they're not trying to sell out the entire venue. Would they like to? Of
For sure.
course.
Yeah.
But if they're opening up 7,000 tickets or 20,000 tickets and they're reaching that, that is good. You know, look at Evolution, for example. Like, they have to open up more tickets. It looked like that show was in danger of selling out. Now they have to open up more tickets.
We were just talking about that the other day. It looked like Evolution was going to be a complete disaster, and suddenly, when you give things, because that's just what we do, I think, as humans and human nature and things like that, we wait till the last minute for things. So people just naturally waited for last minute to see what was going to happen, to see if prices would drop, to see if all of those things would happen. And ultimately, what you're seeing is no matter what people are going to say about it, you're seeing ultimate success at the end for every single show that is taking place this weekend. What is being expected is happening.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And it goes to just show you how strong professional wrestling is, you know, and I think that's kind of why it's this weekend out of all, it's like there's just a lot of stuff that's going on, and it's a lot. And it's hard. It's hard to sit here and be interested in absolutely everything, and I can't sugarcoat it. I will not be excited for every single card from top to bottom, you know.
For sure.
But when you look at what AEW is doing and what WWE is doing this weekend, I think it's very safe to say that they have done enough to get people interested.
Absolutely.
And that's why it really matters what the closing thing is, right? And I think it goes back to that AJ Lee thing. Like, how WWE ends Evolution, you know, if AJ Lee returns, oh my God, that place is going to blow, right? Like the roof will go off.
Yes.
But that's why there's pressure on AEW, and I really don't think Tony Khan's dumb. But like, if Tony Khan doesn't do anything other than give Hangman the freaking belt, you will piss off people. I don't think Tony Khan's that dumb to not, like, he could read the.
Yes. He is smart. Yeah. No. Correct. I agree 100%. You have to give it to Hangman, and we've talked about that numerous times now. Nope. Nope. Absolutely. Correct. Yeah. It's a must. Correct. It's going to be exciting, man. We just know we have a busy weekend, man. It's one to look forward to. What happened? Nothing. Nothing. That's all right.
I'm very curious to see. Like, I don't think Obafemi drops the belt.
No,
Inamura
no.
probably win. You know.
Yeah,
But like, it's gonna be interesting what they do, man. I still think we get a debut this weekend. I think we get Danhausen or Private Party at NXT.
I think Private Party for sure. If they're gonna go based off that, I definitely think it's gonna be Private Party.
Yeah.
Just to add excitement to NXT. They need to do something to counter program AEW legitimately, and I think the best way to do that is, crappy as it may seem, is going and debuting Private Party this weekend.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, it would.
It's definitely something to pay attention to.
For sure.
Did you have any super chats on your channel?
No, none of mine.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not like skipping anything.
Nope. We are good so far.
Cool.
We are in. Let's
see.
Very much a lot to look forward to this weekend, guys. And guess what? I'm gonna be live for all of it.
Yeah, I can't believe it. You're gonna be live for 11 hours.
11 hours, baby. 11 hours. I don't know why, but 11 hours. I'm starting pretty early tomorrow.
Yeah, what time are you starting?
I'm starting at noon. Just, I'm probably going to play a little bit of 2K and just hang out with people, kind of get them, indulged, get everybody excited. It's going to be a busy one, man.
I dig it,
man. I'm going to be live tonight too for SmackDown. We got a hectic weekend, and truth be told, we're trying to hit 10,000 followers on TikTok, and we're about 1,100 away. So this is a good excuse this weekend to grind it out.
Yeah.
Exciting,
bro. Exciting. So what I want to do is I kind of actually want to cut the stream short.
Oh, okay.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
I feel like we talked about everything that's like really important.
For
you
sure.
know,
Yeah.
We're not doing predictions or anything like that.
No.
Because I will have predictions on TikTok and YouTube
so will I.
But,
I will have predictions out as well.
Yeah, but what I do want to do is turn the gears a little bit. Tony Hawk Pro Skater came out today, and that's my favorite game of all time. And so I will be going live momentarily on More Ango if you guys want to watch that. If you guys are interested in that, I'll be live on YouTube as well as TikTok.
He's going to
playing Tony Hawk.
I'm going to play Tony Hawk in real life. For everybody who doesn't know, I'm an actual skateboarder. I'll just play the video games.
Yeah. He's an actual skateboarder.
Come on, man. I get down with it.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a big weekend. Enjoy your weekend. If you guys like Tony Hawk, I'm going to be playing that on More Ango /
I'm gonna come pop in. Come annoy you.
And Billy's going to be live for SmackDown. And then, of course, tomorrow he's going to be live streaming. I'm going to have a lot of content for you guys throughout the weekend. So make sure you guys click subscribe to Billy, all that good stuff. And if you guys like Tony Hawk, I'll see you guys in just a few minutes. I feel like we kind of talked about everything we need to talk about.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you all for being here and coming through. Any last words, Billy?
No, sir. Just make sure to subscribe, Billy TKO, over on YouTube.
Beautiful. See you guys. Peace.